A little while ago, I noted on my blog that there was a curious absence of German photographers dealing with the German past after World War II, which is a very striking, and which stands in very striking contrast to what, for example, German writers and painters were doing. And of course, that caused a big uproar in the well, not a big uproar, but an uproar in the German photo community, which then, however, failed to give examples of German post-war photographers dealing with the Nazi era, etc. But recently, a new generation of German photographers has been dealing with the past. There are many examples of young photographers exploring it, and here's one example that I bought in Germany a little earlier this year. It comes in this setup. There are two books in here. I'm just going to take this out so you can see this is how this works. Just going to remove this. So then there's these two books. So this is the photo book that I'm going to show you, and this is not a photo book. Instead, it contains text, and these are all texts that were recorded by, or written down and recorded, and then taken by Soviet soldiers and intelligence officers who asked German prisoners of war after the war about what they were involved in. So it's all text. It's unfortunately only in German, just too bad. But it gives a lot of detail about war crimes, etc., committed by regular German troops. The publisher of this part is Hannes Herr, who is a well-known, somewhat muckraking German historian, who has been very actively talking about this issue of German soldiers and their involvement in war crimes, which, as it turned out, for a long time resulted in a furious conservative backlash. So the second part, or the other part of this set of books, is this photo book, and it says a photographic essay by Jakob Gleisberg. And what Jakob Gleisberg did, see how this works here. His grandfather served in the, it's a little bit hard to show, in the German army during World War II. And the photographer followed the footsteps of the grandfather. His grandfather went into Soviet captivity, was later released. And this is the path that the grandfather took along with the advancing German army. So the red dots are locations where the grandfather served. If served is the right word. So the photographer followed that path and took photographs along that route. Photographs, of course, taken today. There's these explanations. This is in Warsaw. Explanations and details of what he found and the people he ran into. With some historical explanations. Unfortunately, this book is only in German. I think it would be tremendous if a publisher in the English-speaking world got interested in publishing this. This clearly is part of history, but is also part of recent German history, of a young generation of Germans interested in the past, interested in breaking through the silence that lasted in Germany for quite a long time. I found this book in Berlin at a place called 25 Books. If you ever go to Berlin, that's one of the places to visit, to look for photo books, along with Motto, of course, another small independent bookseller. And then there's another big, very big bookseller that has a lot of books about photography and art and philosophy and all that kind of stuff, Walter Koenig, which is just across the museum island in Berlin, so that's fairly easy to find. So there's always these interactions, not always, but there's often these interactions with people that the photographer ran into. And of course, I think my personal reading is that at the end of the day, it's almost impossible to try to understand the experience of that grandfather and whatever must have gone on there. But try as we might, I think it's a very important endeavor for a photographer to dig into this kind of German history. That's the book. So there's these two, as I said, the text and the photography, and I don't even really know what the actual title of this set is. That's kind of curious. This book is entitled was glaubst, denn, wohin, marschieren, which means something like, so what do you believe, where we're going, or marching. And this one is titled Stets zu erschießen sind Frauen, die der Roten Armee dienen, which is a quote from the German Army High Command. Women serving in the Red Army are always to be shot.